Marshall Faulk.
I think he's the greatest of all time.
There we go. He has your heart.
First thing that comes to mind when I think about Marshall Faulk
is what, Jules? What comes to your mind?
Greatest show on turf. You watch Marshall Faulk, he reminds you of Barry Sanders. He had the stop go. He was really good at cutting back. He had really great vision. He's bigger than what you thought. And then you throw in the pass game where he is the original personnel problem guy. After Marshall Faulk, people were trying to make Marshall Faulk.
Thank you, man. Sorry about that.
What?
A fumble. I don't fumble, Coach.
Man. I know you don't.
I don't fumble.
Don't worry about it.
Marshall Faulk. Was he really worth just 2 draft picks? April 15th, 1999, Indianapolis. Marshall Faulk is 26 years old. He just led the entire NFL in yards from scrimmage, 2,227 yards, more than any player in football.
Marshall Faulk off to the races. He breaks that tackle. He is gone.
He's gone.
30, 20, 10. Touchdown, Indianapolis.
More than reigning MVP Terrell Davis. He's coming off a season where a rookie named Peyton Manning leaned on him just to survive his first year in the league, and the Colts trade him anyway. Not for a superstar, not for a haul, for a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. The kind of return teams accept when they're moving a backup, not the best all-purpose weapon in football. The message wasn't subtle. Indianapolis had a new quarterback, a new direction, and they looked at the most dangerous running back in the NFL and decided he wasn't worth the cap space to keep. They didn't think they were giving away a weapon. They thought they were clearing out furniture. 5 years earlier, this was the second overall pick in the draft. A player so good, he won Rookie of the Year and Pro Bowl MVP in the same season, something no rookie had ever done.
He's being chased by Darnell Walker. It's a foot race. Faulk is in for the touchdown.
And in 1999, at the absolute peak of his powers, his own team looked at him and basically said, "We can replace this." They were about to find out exactly how wrong they were. Marshall Faulk, was he really worth just 2 draft picks? Let's find out. To understand how a front office could be so wrong about the most dangerous player in football, you have to go back to where this all started, long before Indianapolis.
Throwing the long ball towards the end zone. Faulk is there. Marshall Faulk comes down with it.
Long before St. Louis.
Marshall Faulk takes the pass and goes all the way for a touchdown.
Long before anyone called him a weapon. The warning shot. September 14th, 1991, San Diego State against the University of the Pacific. Marshall Faulk is 18 years old, a true freshman, and he is not even supposed to be on the field. Starter T.C. Wright goes down early with a thigh injury. Faulk steps in cold. By the final whistle, Faulk has carried the ball 37 times for 386 yards and 7 touchdowns. Not just a freshman record.
He will give it to the back. Here comes Faulk, darts right, darts to the 5, to the goal line, to the end zone, touchdown.
At that moment, it was the most rushing yards any college football player at any level had ever produced in a single game. Not Red Grange, not O.J. Simpson, not Herschel Walker. Faulk broke a record that had stood since 1977, before he even finished his sophomore year of college eligibility.
Here comes Marshall Faulk to the 40, to the 30, breaks the tackle, runs to the 20, to the 10, he's going to score! Touchdown!
Before Marshall Faulk became the NFL's most dangerous chess piece, he gave college football a warning shot. 1 game, a true freshman, 386 yards, 7 touchdowns. That is not a stat line, that is a crime scene. And here is the part that makes Faulk different from almost every other legend in this conversation. Nobody manufactured this. The NFL did not inherit a system player. It inherited a player who was already too advanced for the box college football tried to put him in.
And they're going for Marshall Faulk. He is open.
Nobody manufactured this. He was terrifying before the greatest show on turf ever existed, before Kurt Warner ever threw an NFL pass, before anyone in St. Louis knew his name. Faulk left San Diego State a 2-time consensus All-American with over 5,000 all-purpose yards and 62 career touchdowns.
He's got a touchdown, San Diego State.
then declared early for the draft with a year of eligibility still on the table. The Indianapolis Colts took him second overall in the 1994 NFL Draft.
With the second pick in the first round, the Indianapolis Colts select Marshall Faulk, running back, San Diego State.
Just ahead of future Patriots star Willie McGinnis and future Hall of Fame guard Larry Allen, behind only defensive tackle Dan Wilkinson. The Colts years, the weapon nobody wanted to keep. In Indianapolis, Faulk was instantly elite. He rushed for 143 yards and 3 touchdowns in his very first NFL game, a 45-21 win over Houston.
Faulk, he's in. Touchdown, Colts.
And followed it up with another 100-yard game the very next week. By season's end, he had 1,282 rushing yards and 11 touchdowns, and the Colts, a team that had gone 4-12 the year before, climbed all the way back to 8-8. Faulk was named NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. He kept building from there. In 1995, he rushed for 1,078 yards and helped carry the Colts within 1 game of the Super Bowl, a heartbreaking loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC Championship that he had to watch from the sideline with a toe injury. Then 1996 nearly buried him. The toe injury turned chronic. His per-carry average collapsed to barely 3 yards a carry, and he managed only 587 yards on a roster that had no answer for life without him healthy. He fought back in 1997, gutting out 1,054 yards on a team that won just 3 games all season.
Turns the corner, stop and go, touchdown! Whoa!
And then came 1998, the season that should be a bigger deal than it is. The Colts went 3-13, tied for the worst record in football. They had just drafted a rookie quarterback named Peyton Manning, who was still getting his footing, throwing 28 interceptions and getting battered behind a leaky offensive line. Every single defensive coordinator in the AFC knew exactly one thing walking into that season: stop Marshall Faulk and you stop the Colts.
The Faulk cuts it up the middle, follows the blocking, touchdown! Marshall Faulk dives into the end zone.
There was no other threat to plan for. No Isaac Bruce, no Torry Holt. Just one running back carrying an entire offense against defenses that had nothing else to think about for 60 minutes. Faulk produced 2,227 yards from scrimmage anyway, leading the entire NFL ahead of every running back in football, beating reigning league MVP Terrell Davis by a mere 2 yards.
Manning, wide open in the end zone, touchdown Marshall Faulk!
Think about what that means. A defense's whole game plan that year was built around one job: stopping him. And the most marked man in the league still outproduced everybody. That is not a stat from a perfect system with 3 future Hall of Famers drawing attention away from him. That is a man doing it with a rookie quarterback who didn't have his legs under him yet, and a defense that gave up points by the bucket. It remains one of the most absurd statistical seasons in NFL history, and almost nobody remembers it because it happened on a 3-13 team that nobody was watching. By 1998, he was the best all-purpose back in football, and the Colts let him walk anyway for 2 draft picks. That is the ugly truth buried underneath the trade. Marshall Faulk was already the most dangerous all-purpose back alive.
To the inside, breaks a tackle, 5, touchdown Faulk!
Carrying an entire offense almost by himself against defenses built specifically to stop him. And it barely mattered to the front office, because a new coaching staff had already decided his role belonged to someone else. In reality, that trade is one of the most lopsided transactions in modern NFL history. The Colts did not move on from a fading veteran. They handed a loaded weapon to the one team in football that was about to figure out exactly how to aim it.
I felt like I had paid my dues there and I deserved a new contract, and they felt like I didn't. You never want to leave. I thought I'd finish my career in Indianapolis, but now I'm here and I hope to finish here.
The greatest show on turf becomes a horror movie. St. Louis already had Kurt Warner at quarterback, Isaac Bruce and Torry Holt at receiver, Orlando Pace protecting the blind side, and Mike Martz designing an offense built on space and tempo. What they did not have was the one piece that turned all of those weapons into an unsolvable equation. Faulk was that piece.
You think about the perfect ingredient, the ingredient that makes everything more powerful, and that's Marshall Faulk.
In 1999, his first season as a Ram, Faulk produced one of the most absurd statistical seasons any running back has ever put on film. 1,381 rushing yards, 1,048 receiving yards, and an NFL record 2,429 yards from scrimmage.
He goes that way. Not only the first down, but the touchdown, St. Louis Rams.
He became only the second player in NFL history, after Roger Craig, to top 1,000 rushing and 1,000 receiving yards in the same season. 1999 was the year Marshall Faulk stopped being a running back and became a defensive panic attack.
Going into the 99 season, we were a very good football team. When he got there, the horsepower went from like a 300 horsepower to 500 horsepower.
He did not just rush for 1,000. He did not just receive for 1,000. He forced every defensive coordinator in football to game plan for 2 Pro Bowl players living in one body. 1,381 rushing yards, 1,048 receiving yards, 2,429 yards from scrimmage.
Warner hands off Marshall Faulk, right side, spins his way to the end zone, touchdown, Rams!
Your running back is not supposed to have a wide receiver season too. The Rams went 13-3, transforming from a bottom-tier offense the year before into the league's most explosive attack and Super Bowl champions, beating the Tennessee Titans in Super Bowl 34. And then came 2000, the season that should have come with a warning label. Defenses had an entire off-season of tape to study. They knew exactly what was coming. They knew the motion, the routes, the audibles. It did not matter. Faulk piled up 2,189 yards from scrimmage and set what was then an NFL record with 26 total touchdowns.
Marshall Faulk, touchdown! Second of the game for Faulk.
This came despite missing 2 full games to injury. He was named NFL Most Valuable Player and won his second straight Offensive Player of the Year award. Missed 2 games, still scored 26 touchdowns, still won MVP. 14 games, 26 touchdowns, league MVP. The most dangerous player in football that year was not a quarterback throwing the ball 40 times a game. He was the running back defenses could not cover, could not ignore, and could not remove from the equation. That 2000 season is the proof that 1999 was not a fluke, not a Cinderella accident inside a perfect storm. The league had a full off-season to study Marshall Faulk, and he still found a way to become more dangerous, not less.
Brent Green drills it, touchdown, and
Faulk backed it up again in 2001, leading the NFC with 2,147 yards from scrimmage and becoming that year the first player in NFL history to produce 4 straight seasons of 2,000 or more yards from scrimmage, a streak running from 1998 through 2001. The league had 4 full off-seasons to solve Marshall Faulk. It never did. Here is what made him impossible. Stack the box to stop the run, and he motions out wide and torches a linebacker in coverage. Play light personnel to cover the pass, and he runs straight through it. Key on Isaac Bruce and Torry Holt to take away the deep ball, and Faulk quietly eats 40, 50, 60 yards underneath. Key on Faulk, and Kurt Warner throws over your head to 2 future Hall of Fame receivers. The greatest show on turf was not dangerous because it had one answer. It was dangerous because every single answer created another problem, and Marshall Faulk stood in the middle of every single one of them. That run ended the way every great run eventually does. The knees gave out before the game did. 2001 was his last 1,000-yard rushing season.
Marshall Faulk. Touchdown.
He played 4 more years, still productive and still dangerous, before Steven Jackson began taking over the backfield in the final stage of his career. The counter-argument. Now, here's where this gets messy, because the skeptics have a real case, and it deserves to be heard. Kurt Warner threw him open. Isaac Bruce and Torry Holt cleared out entire secondaries before Faulk ever touched the ball. Orlando Pace erased the league's best pass rushers. Mike Martz built game plans specifically to isolate Faulk on a linebacker. Strip all of that away, drop him onto the 1996 or 1997 Colts roster instead, and does this conversation even exist? Stack him against the other names in this debate, and the holes show. Barry Sanders was scarier in open space. Tomlinson was more complete over a longer prime. Peterson hit harder. Emmett has the rings and the record. Faulk does not clearly win any one of those individual fights. So maybe Faulk was not the most dangerous running back who ever played football. Maybe he was the most dangerous weapon the sport ever lined up at running back.
Faulk in the backfield, Faulk the call, and a touchdown.
That distinction sounds small. It is not. It changes the entire shape of the argument. The underrated problem. Here's why nobody gives him credit for it. Fans remember the Rams as one blur. Warner slinging it deep, Bruce and Holt sprinting past safeties, points stacking up like a video game. Ask a casual fan who the engine of the greatest show on turf was, and most say Warner before they say Faulk. That is the entire problem with how his career gets remembered. Judge him by rushing yards alone, and you miss the point of what he was built to do. Judge him by what a defensive coordinator actually had to survive on a Sunday, and he becomes one of the most terrifying matchups the league has ever produced. He does not win every traditional running back argument, and that is fine. But ask who gave a defense the fewest safe answers on every single snap of his career, and almost nobody in NFL history can step into that conversation with him. The verdict. So let's read the full case out loud, the way a closing argument deserves to be read. The numbers: 12,279 career rushing yards, 6,875 career receiving yards, 19,154 total yards from scrimmage, 6th all-time when he retired, 136 total touchdowns.
Here comes Tony Williams again. There's the catch. It's caught for a touchdown, and that is Marshall Faulk.
7 Pro Bowls, 3 straight Offensive Player of the Year awards, 1 NFL Most Valuable Player trophy, 1 Super Bowl ring, first ballot Hall of Fame induction in 2011, and the first and only player in NFL history to produce 4 consecutive 2,000-yard scrimmage seasons, a streak from 1998 through 2001 that nobody before him and nobody since has been able to touch. Was Marshall Faulk truly the most dangerous running back ever? Or was he the perfect weapon inside the perfect offense? Here is the answer, and it is going to make both sides of the comment section mad. Pick one. You cannot have it both ways, because the two arguments cancel each other out the moment you actually say them out loud. The Rams made Faulk's danger visible to the entire country, sure, but you do not build a dynasty around a running back who only looks dangerous because of who is standing next to him. Take him out, and Kurt Warner is a quarterback with a clean pocket and 2 great receivers running open. Leave him in, and there is no correct defensive answer left on the board. So here is the only verdict that survives the tape. Marshall Faulk may not be the greatest running back who ever played the position, but he is the most dangerous. Not the strongest, not the longest career, not the most championships, the most dangerous. The one player in this argument who could beat you 4 different ways on the same exact play call and never let you know which one was coming until it was already too late. So was Marshall Faulk really worth just a 2nd-round pick and a 5th-round pick? Put it next to what he actually did the moment he left Indianapolis, and the question answers itself. The Colts didn't make a trade, they made a donation, and the rest of the NFL spent the next 4 years finding out exactly what they gave away for free. Barry made defenders look helpless. Emmett made history look inevitable. LaDainian made completeness look beautiful. Marshall Faulk made an entire front office look like they didn't know what they had. A second-round pick and a fifth-round pick. That's what they thought he was worth. The tape says otherwise. If this one changed how you see Marshall Faulk, smash that like button and subscribe to End Zone Exposed for more NFL documentaries that go deeper than any highlight reel. Here's the poll for the comments. You're building a Super Bowl team, and you get to start one of them in their absolute prime, Marshall Faulk or peak Barry Sanders. Pick one, no hedging, and tell us why. Marshall Faulk. Was he really worth just 2 draft picks? You decide. End Zone Exposed is where the truth always scores.